right, welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of Wolf Watch, brought to you courtesy of the NewtownPostExaminer.com and SandyHookStalkers.wordpress.com. I'm your host, Keith Johnson. Today, we continue our coverage of Wolfgang Halbig's traveling circus and the money train that's making stops and collecting fares from gullible and unsuspecting passengers from across the nation. And the main topic of conversation among the hoaxers these days is that Wolfgang's long-awaited FOIA hearing that was scheduled for March 31st has been postponed. And unjustly so, says Wolfgang Halbig, who claims that an FOIA hearing can't be postponed once it's on the docket. And of course, all of his followers are similarly pissed, pretty much making the same basic argument. Now, the official reason given for this postponement was because the attorney representing the Newtown School Board, Monty Frank, had already made plans long ago to be away on that day in order to participate in this here bike ride on Washington, D.C. for sensible gun violence prevention, of which he is the founder. And that's him speaking on the steps of, I think that's the Capitol. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But he couldn't make it to the hearing. And that compelled Halbig to write yet another angry email, this one addressed to Colleen Murphy, Executive Director and General Counsel for the Connecticut Freedom of Information Commission, expressing his outrage. And you see it here. You can read along. And what I've done is outlined Halbig's allegation that Attorney Monty Frank both broke the law and flaunted the rule of law, which are two unfounded claims that I intend to debunk here in a few minutes. Now, I wasn't really planning on addressing this FOIA hearing postponement, primarily because I didn't feel qualified to make legal arguments and because I felt this would soon blow over and become irrelevant here in a couple weeks, April 24th to be exact, when Halbig finally gets his day before the commission. But then I heard from this YouTuber known as Sleight of Sin, who asked me to take a look at a hidden camera video and article posted on the Max Resistance website. And here it is. And essentially, Sleight of Sin challenged me to either concede to or dispute his contention that the FOIA Commission had broken the law when they postponed the hearing and that Wolfgang's rights had been violated and that there was a concerted effort, a conspiracy, if you will, to subvert justice and so on and so forth. You know, pretty bold claims. So I was in one of those rare moods where I just can't say no. So I said, sure, yeah, I'll take a look and get back with you. So here's what I did. In yellow, I underlined excerpts that I felt were speculative, unsubstantiated, or needed a closer look to verify if true. And in red, I underlined what I considered to be facts. So essentially, they're claiming that Monty and the FOIA Commission conspired to obstruct justice and that certain laws and statutes were circumvented or blatantly ignored. So, the day before the hearing, a concerned citizen went to the FOIA office to see if there was a formal notification issued to all parties about the postponement. This citizen said he couldn't find one. Then whoever it is who wrote this article points out that Monty Frank is vice president of the Connecticut Bar Association. The commission may have thrown Wolfgang under the bus in favor of Frank. Okay, so have you followed along closely so far? Then they say all this was contrary to state FOIA regulations and statutes that prohibits continuances, and they post a screenshot of the section in the regulations that they believe validates their claim. Okay, now we'll skip a couple things we'll get to later, but as we move down to near the end of the article, we find this big piece of speculation here. We think if Halbig had not flown up here, they might have held the hearing without him and contended that he failed to appear. Okay, got it? So, based on that alone, without doing any research, I was prepared to throw together a video that basically threw the challenge right back at him, at Sleight of Sin. I was going to point out that there was a great deal of speculation in that article and that neither he nor I were attorneys, so we really aren't qualified to make legal arguments and determine whether or not laws were broken. You know, why don't you get an attorney to weigh in on this? That's what I was going to say. And I was also going to take the opportunity to dispel this myth that I'm somehow opposed to Wolfgang Halbig obtaining documents pursuant to his FOIA request. Nothing can be further from the truth. I mean, I'm all about government transparency and the public's right to know. As a matter of fact, my good friend and colleague C.W. Wade and I see eye to eye on this, and Wade even did a post on his blog almost 1 year ago voicing his support for Halbig's effort. Here's some excerpts. Read it for yourself. Use the pause feature if you must. Forgive me if I don't weigh in. Ditto. I second that emotion. Hear, hear. I'm all about that, folks. So that's basically what I was going to say in my video, but then I took a closer look at the hidden camera footage in that Max Resistance article, took some notes, and did a little online research. And guess what? I discovered that there was no need for either of us to consult an attorney because it was plain to see that no laws had been broken, and the proof was right there on the Connecticut FOIA website. Right there in black and white, in layman's terms, for anyone to read. Before we get to that, let's take a look at this video and dissect the claims made there. This is how it begins, right here with the screenshot. This is their conclusion in a nutshell, and we're about to see this hidden camera video taken by this concerned citizen at the Hartford FOIA office. Remember, he's there to find out if there was any formal notification sent to Wolfgang Halbig about the postponement. Got it? And this is our concerned citizen. All we know is that he wears tennis shoes and that he brought a child with him into the office. And you'll hear the attorney, FOIA Chief Counsel Clifton Leonhardt there on the right, talking to her briefly as he deals with this guy. And we know that our citizen is not an attorney because of this exchange where attorney Leonhardt asks him, "Who are you?"
I'm going to be representing him tomorrow morning as his agent. If he cannot.
It's okay. I'd like to. What did you say, Steve?
Because apparently Attorney Spinella was fired as of the 27th.
Yeah, you're not a lawyer, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay, now Paul Spinella, who he refers to, was Wolfgang's Connecticut-based FOIA attorney that he allegedly paid $10,000 to represent him. Apparently, Wolf fired him on the 27th because he didn't perform up to expectations, and is now a suspect in this whole obstruction of justice conspiracy. More on him later. Okay, so this is a copy of the document presented in the video. Apparently, this is the copy Wolfgang eventually received. As you can see, Monty Frank sent an email on the 23rd to the commission stating he'd be out of town on the 31st and respectfully requested a continuance. So he made no demands. He wasn't breaking the law or flaunting the rule of law, as Wolfgang says. He simply made a request and left it in the hands of the commission to either deny or approve the request. And as you can see in this copy in the FOIA file, the request was approved the same day by FOIA Commissioner Matthew Streeter with a note to contact both parties to set a new hearing date. And you can also see that a copy of this email was sent on the same day to Wolfgang's attorneys Paul Spinella. And the guy in the video even admits that Wolfgang was notified of the postponement by Spinella on that day, something like 10 in the morning. And in the article, they talk about Spinella. Well, first off, they say that Wolfgang was not duly or officially notified of the continuance. Then they say Spinella failed to provide Wolfgang, his client, with adequate documentation of the continuance or state an objection on his behalf. Well, right there is where you reach your dead end, fella. It is not the job of the commission to inform Wolfgang Halbig of anything. If you have an attorney, that is the only person they deal with. So any problems you have about notification is between you and Spinella. And even y'all admit that Spinella was notified, and he did notify Halbig. Now, as far as Wolfgang is concerned, Spinella should have voiced his objection to the continuance and stood his ground based on this regulation. But as you are about to see, folks, it wouldn't have mattered a damn. Spinella could have pitched a fit. Even Halbig could have gotten on the phone and said, "I do not approve of this," and the commissioner would have still approved the continuance without breaking any laws or violating Wolfgang's rights in any way. And I'm going to prove it. First, back to the video. The guy has a question.
The question is here: if the two parties in writing agreed to this, Wolf would like to see the writing proof.
Agreed to what?
Agreed to the cancellation. Because according to the statutes, it has to be done prior to the order, not after the order. And it has to be agreed on in writing by both parties.
Okay, well, our concerned citizen is wrong because what he's referring to is not a statute. These are the statutes. The Freedom of Information Act is codified in Chapter 14 of Connecticut General Statute. What he's referring to is a regulation, something entirely different. You see, regulations. We scroll down, and we will find that regulation that he's referring to and click on it. There you go. Now, if we go back to that page about regulations, we also come across this. And this is where the argument that laws were broken falls flat. Read that carefully, folks, because this essentially says that these regulations are not etched in stone and that the Commission can deviate from them at their own discretion as long as there is no statute that preempts them. Just as a reminder, I'm posting that regulation that their argument hinges upon, and this is one of those regulations that the Commission can act upon or deviate from at their own discretion as long as there is no statute that precludes it. So let's see if that's the case. We go to the FOIA statutes, okay, right here, and we type in the word postponement. And look at that. Can't even get to the end of the word and we get no results. And you're more than welcome to go to that page and see for yourself. Now, I did the same with the word continuance, and what do you know? We come up with 3 results. But all they say about that is that if the hearing is continued within 24 hours, a sign needs to be posted near the door or something like that. You can go there and read it for yourself if you'd like. Point being that there is no statute that precludes the Commission from doing anything they want with that particular regulation in question. And folks, despite how much Kool-Aid you've been drinking from the Halbig pitcher, it's clear that these regulations were designed to keep attorneys from gaming the system and wasting the court's time. It has nothing to do whatsoever with protecting the claimants' or respondents' rights or shielding them from being inconvenienced in any way. And all you have to do is look at Wolfgang Halbig's copy of the hearing notice to find that out. They simply want to get these cases moved through in a timely fashion. Look at number 8. Due to the large number of cases filed and requirements for speedy action, parties can't compel postponements, but the Commission can do whatever the hell it wants. Okay? And no, Halbig was not singled out or thrown under the bus. This is all part of his drama. These postponements and continuances happen all the time, as Mr. Leonhardt pointed out to the guy after reading Monty Frank's request.
I respectfully request to continue the hearing. Okay, that's very routine. So that was granted.
Of course, our concerned citizen here isn't content with that answer and insists that the Commission is somehow bound to abide by this regulation.
It needs to reschedule. It has to be done prior to the order being issued, which was on the 13th. This was done.
Well, it says that in our regulations, maybe. Is that the end?
Yes, I can actually pull them up.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, continuances are granted all the time on like this. I don't quite know what you're referring to, because I'm not saying that there's nothing there. You might be right. There might be some other thing that nobody's paid attention to for decades.
Okay, so you heard it there again, folks. Continuances are granted all the time. 30 million, according to Leonhardt, and this regulation, as he is desperately trying to impress upon this slow-witted citizen, is not etched in stone. It's a card the Commission can play if attorneys abuse the system. And the Commission is not obligated to exercise that option and hasn't for a long time, according to Mr. Leonhardt. So Leonhardt can't seem to get through to the guy and finally tells him, listen, if you think some law has been violated, write a complaint. But you're probably not going to win. And then we see this flash on the screen, which simply isn't true, as we have demonstrated. No law has been violated, and you will never get an attorney to sign on to this argument that justice has been obstructed because the position rests on a false premise. Contrary to the claim, this is not a legally binding statute. It's a regulation that the Commission can choose to impose on either party of an action or their attorneys, but not something that they themselves are obligated to follow. You got it? In other words, the Commission is basically saying, my house, my rules. So in this particular case, Commissioner Matt Streeter saw good cause. Monty Frank had a vacation planned well in advance of the hearing, so he granted the continuance. And Wolf's attorney, Paul Spinella, knowing how these things work, knew it would do no good to voice an objection, and probably wouldn't anyway, because he wants to be afforded the same consideration when he asks for time off. Now, that might not be the way you'd like things to work or should work, but that's the reality. and neither Wolfgang nor his minions are ever going to change that. Now, just one more thing that I thought was kind of amusing. This concerned citizen, well, he points out that one of the copies of Monty Frank's request had last year's date on it. Now, get a load of this. I mean, this is why hoaxers are by far the worst of the worst when it comes to conspiracy theorists.
Question. Well, the question is that's dated March 23rd, 2014, yeah. With the stamp.
Right.
And
that's when it got received here.
That's impossible, sir. March 23rd, 2015. How was it received a year ago?
Oh, okay. That looks like there's a mistake on the stamp. Okay, all right. Yeah, that's just a mistake.
Mistake? These stamps are regulated. Oh, come on, really? Is that true? I mean, where does he come off saying something like that? I mean, it's a freaking stamp. The day of the week is changed daily by hand, and it's dangerously close to the year dial. I mean, please. And regulated by whom exactly? The Office of Weights and Measures? I mean, back up your absurd claims with proof. Does a guy come in once a week with a toolkit? Okay, ladies, time to calibrate those date stamps. I mean, give me a break. This just reminds me that hoaxers really do give government more credit than they deserve. I mean, they really feel intimidated and small in the shadow of this big, invincible behemoth that is incapable of human error. There are no mistakes. Everything's a conspiracy. Even the timestamps. They're evil geniuses, and this is all part of their diabolical plan. Only problem is that our concerned citizen here fails to tell us how this factors into the conspiracy. I mean, how does backdating a copy of this letter fit into the cover-up or whatever it is you're alleging? Pathetic. Dude, people make clerical errors all the time. Perhaps you can relate to that? And finally, for those who don't know, this FOIA hearing, it's an appeal. In other words, Newtown has already answered Halbig's request. Problem is that Wolfgang doesn't like the answers they're giving him. Some things he wants don't exist. Others he's not entitled to. And the stuff they have given him, he won't accept. Please, folks, check out this post by my friend C.W. Wade, where he goes into depth about this. For instance, the security system wasn't installed in 2012, but rather in 2006. And that's what Halbig was told. And the everyone must check in sign wasn't there on the 14th. That's why there's no sign-in sheet for that day. Check it out, folks. Very good post by C.W. Wade. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end it right here because I've wasted enough time on an issue that will be irrelevant in about 2 weeks when Halbig will be shut down and humiliated once again, and there will be a new round of bellyaching among his supporters. So, check into these websites and subscribe to this channel because there's a lot more where this came from. So until next time, this is Keith Johnson, signing off.